Hey, what's going on? Welcome to Conversations with the Crawleys. And we are, of course, Kevin and
Tarsha.
Tarsha
We gotta say
Crawley.
my name.
She don't say her own name. It's all right. All right. So if you're tuning in for the first time, we do this. We're streaming both on YouTube and on Facebook. We are, of course, celebrating our 25th anniversary.
Yay.
Wow. Wow. All right, but come on in. Let us know that you're here. This is a little celebration. It's a party. But also we just want to have a conversation about love, about relationships, about family, about whatever else strikes our fancy for these next few moments. Don't know how long it's going to be. All right. So if you're watching on Facebook, definitely make sure that you are also subscribing to the YouTube channel. We are trying to grow that YouTube channel, Conversations with the Crawleys. We do a lot of recaps and reviews of TV shows that we watch, relationship shows that we watch, and have other conversations as well. So we're just going to kind of talk and jump into it. Hey, Amara, good to see you, new subby. Appreciate you for subscribing.
Yes.
We appreciate you. Make sure, share with your family, share with your friends. We have a saying around our church, share with your enemies because your enemies might become friends after all. All right. So, what do you want to talk about? I mean, because
I want to talk about when you married and be so old that pictures you want to put on Instagram, you can't even find on your camera or your cell phone.
Okay.
It was just like dawned on me, like because we went to school together, right? That's where we met.
Yep.
And when I was like, oh, I would love to share these photos, but we didn't have cell phones when we were taking pictures back then. So it's just like
we're not that old that they didn't have cameras. We're not that old that they didn't have cameras. You might be that old.
I'm talking about the cell phone in your camera. Don't try to make me that old. I'm just saying. And then this other random thought came to me.
Just random
thoughts.
Random thoughts.
I was like, we need to start taking pictures of ourselves when we're angry at each other. You know, when we give each other those looks.
I would never take a picture of myself because I'm never angry with you.
Because on Instagram, I want to like show those years of when you're upset with me. Because you can only put pictures on there. Mm-hmm. Well, you only capture pictures
of happiness.
And we're excited.
Right.
I'll have you biting your lip when I say something crazy. So, and the look.
Like I'm doing right now, yeah.
Right. Like what you're doing right now. So I like some of the things, like those are also a part of our experiences, right? Like when we have a disagreement or we are arguing or something, we have those faces, but we don't capture those moments. Like, come on, let me take a picture of you because we are fighting right now.
Right.
We don't have that because I was like, I want to show all sides of who we are.
Yeah, I mean, I think that's a good point. We live in an age right now where everything is what I call Instagram. You put a filter on it, mm-hmm. and if it doesn't look right, you change the picture, you do what have you. But we don't see the everyday life to life. We see the highlights, but we don't even see the lowlights.
You don't see the lowlights. Yeah. Like, I feel like that's a good balance because I'm like, that was a great moment. That was a great moment, but I don't mind sharing, like, you really pissed me off. Like, this doesn't make sense.
I don't piss you off.
Whatever.
I'm good.
Yeah, you're the golden child.
I am. I'm glad you finally recognize
that. Whatever. But I just feel like I don't want to come off as a fraud in a sense. And I know people ain't trying to come off that way, like just showing the best of them.
Right.
I was like, I feel like if you're married, there is some downtime. There is some time where we're both tired. And we're exhausted. And I think capturing those moments, people celebrities, they have someone who takes photography and they capture different moments of different moods. And a lot of times we don't.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, Todd says pictures through time in a marriage show growth and maturity. Absolutely, Todd. That's correct. Exactly. They do show those things, right? This is interactive. So this is not just us talking. If you got questions, feel free to drop a question in the comments. We will definitely respond to it. Anything you want to know. We may even share the story of how we met.
Oh, yeah, that's
and how somebody stalked me, but it's okay.
Who's that? Was that a previous relationship?
Okay, yeah, previous relationship. Okay. But yeah, we want to definitely, hey, Dizzo, good to see you. But we definitely want to have the conversation and just kind of share our time, because again, we're celebrating 25 years, so it's a milestone for us. You know, we made a decision. Doesn't mean that every day of our marriage, we were just like, hey, it's great and everything was wonderful and hunky dory. There were times where it was like, look, I love you, but I don't know if I like you right now. And so we want to share that, have a good, conversation and just hang out for a little bit, So definitely any questions you guys got, any comments, we definitely want to hear your thoughts on this. All right. So what would be the advice you would give to a couple?
Oh, out of 25 years,
what would be like one of the key things of advice? Yes, Amar, we will definitely tell how we met. All right.
Oh, you want the tea?
You want the tea. All right. Okay. So while you think about that, we'll talk about how we met.
Okay. There's two versions of this story.
Well, no, how we actually met. There's really one version. Now, what happened after we first met? There's some dispute as far as some things, right? But how we first met was we were in Bible school, and I had come down to Oklahoma with a couple of friends of mine who I'd grown up with. They were sisters of mine, basically. And they had met her roommate because she had moved down from Maryland. So they had met her roommate, and we were hanging out after church or something one day. And so I was with my friends. She was with her roommate. The roommate and my friends kind of connected. And so that's the first time I met her. Right now, the first time we actually had a conversation, the first time we actually talked, I think was it Denny's or Village Inn? It was one of those little breakfast restaurants, or maybe it was Shoney's. I don't know. It was something.
Yeah, I think it was Shoney's.
Okay.
Because we were in Oklahoma at the time, but it was just like a quick hi. Yeah. I mean, we really want to get to the part where I'm in
the dispute.
No, the first thing is when we went to class. That's when you asked me out.
But before that.
Oh, before that, it was nothing. That was really nothing. Basically, I was in a church and you were trying to sit with someone you're familiar with. And so I came over to where you were because I was familiar with you. We said hi before, and I sat beside you.
Yep.
That was it.
Okay. Now, here's where there's dispute. Okay. Whatever. So she's making it seem like, oh, I just walked into church. I saw him.
Right.
He was there. Okay. Let's talk about the size of the church, first of all.
Okay. It's a huge church, but there was no one there yet. It was like before service starts. So I was able to see you because there was no one there.
Hey, Mark, good to see you. So it's a seats, what, 5,000, 7,500 somewhere in there?
Yes. And there was 30 or 40 people in there.
Okay. So, but here's the thing. You went from one end
to the middle,
all the way around to the middle. Yes, okay. I get it. But you passed like 800 seats.
Empty seats. There's nobody there. There's nobody I knew.
It's okay, baby. You got me.
Whatever.
You got me. I'm good. We're good.
Whatever make you feel, because I'm the one who was about to leave you. Like, oh, can I get your number? Because I don't give out my number.
But you gave it out.
After someone asks me, but I don't just give my number.
No person just gives out the number. No person just goes up to like,
pass number. Yes, they do. There are people who
those thirst traps can do that. Okay. I don't. Yeah.
Yeah. So, but you stopped me from my number.
I did. Okay.
So you tell me who was asking for numbers.
I'm just saying.
You. I plead my case.
Walk half a mile to come sit next
to all the jurors in the comments say,
one time.
Who's right here?
All right. Anyway, so that's kind of the story of how we met. We after we started dating.
No, because you have to tell. So after that, you didn't call me.
I didn't. You're right.
You didn't call me. I didn't see you.
See, even Todd's like, you had me sighted like a deer in the meadow. That's right.
You're supposed to be on my side.
She had.
Oh my God.
She had the sniper rifle on me. Like, look, there he is.
Oh my gosh, Todd, do not hype him up because you came into my classroom after class and asked me out.
I did.
Yes. So this is all on you.
After you hunted me down, yes.
Wow.
Yes, Tarsha.
Wow.
I'll go on a date with you.
Wow. That is crazy.
But yes, and then we dated for a little while. We kind of knew early on that this was it. This was the relationship. This was what we felt was it. So we had
a common. I feel like we asked a lot of questions to make sure, like, okay, what are you into? And I listened to you. Yeah. I let you talk. I think a lot of problems is that women say too much too soon, and we don't allow the men to say, okay, what are your goals? Where do you see yourself in a couple of years? What are you thinking? What is God saying? If you're coming in a Christian background, whatever your religious preference is. But it was more like, okay, where do you want to go? And so I just took time to listen. I was like, okay, those all check the boxes for me. And so from there, it was just like, okay, we're going to be in a.
I think we were like, look, we're basically moving towards marriage. I think it was 3 weeks in.
Yeah, 3 weeks in, and then we allowed us to go through school.
We still had about a year and a half of us dating, getting to know each other, what have you. Because if can we just be honest? If in those first 3 weeks we saw all the great, and then after that, it was like, look, we because we knew some couples that were like, they just got married almost like
like 6 months in school, like, 9 months in school. I was like, I'm not looking for a roommate that way. So I'm gonna stick with the roommates I have and kind of just play it from there. So
Amara asks, I'll say, so also, if you didn't have a supportive family, do you think it's okay to wait and introduce your man to them like when you're engaged? So I think you have to know your family. Can we you gotta know your family.
I mean, I think it's very important because, even if you have to, I call surrogate families, people who are going to be supportive, but not a yes person.
Right.
My family was very, how can I put it?
Blank stare.
Shut up. I think they were very, maybe I would consider religious. And so even me just having a boyfriend wouldn't be a typical thing for them.
Right.
So it was kind of like easing them into it. But
it's like, hey, there's this guy.
I'm seeing. And we're thinking about getting married.
Now, by this time, we were already like, look, this is it.
Right. Because you don't want to say, hey, I'm engaged.
Right.
So I guess it just depends on where you're communicating. Right. Do you talk to your family every 3 or 4 months? If that's what we're talking about. If they're not supportive, or are they just very negative?
Right.
So I would feel like if you feel like you're going to be like getting engaged soon, then maybe you'll introduce that significant someone to someone who's important.
And prepare. Here's the thing. Let's just, because I think that's a great question. I think that your family,
right?
And every family has dysfunction. Let's just be honest. Every family has some issues. Every family does.
Right.
So if you know your family, but you've made a decision that this is the person that you're going to be with, and you don't care what your family thinks, you also need to prepare the person that you are bringing to your family.
Correct.
Let them know, look, my family this is one of their issues. This is what you might hear. Why? Because then they know, okay, this is what I'm about to walk into.
Correct.
Don't let the person, your significant other, find out all the idiosyncrasies and all the dysfunctions and get it taken by surprise, because then now that becomes, is this how you are going to be?
Right.
Is this how you are?
Right.
So yes, you got to make sure that you have that conversation about your family, because we're products of our families.
Oh, we are, and I think for you, it did take you a little bit by surprise, because when you're in it, even for myself, I didn't know how deep or maybe dysfunctional it was, because that's just how I live. So for someone else to come in with a different aspect or perspective and see something like, what is going on here?
What does mean? What's that about?
Decode what just happened here, But I always had Kevin's back. So anytime it felt like Kevin was being attacked by my family, intentionally or not intentionally, I had his back, because I loved him. I wanted to protect him, and as time has gone on, it has gotten a better relationship with, our family. Could it be better still? Yeah. But at least it's working where, there could be some calls. You could go over their house.
And that strengthened our relationship.
Of course.
Because you never want to be that person that is like, your family is, be like, I don't understand your family. And then all of a sudden it's like, I feel like I'm having to make you choose between me and your family. Right. So therefore, then it becomes an issue of, okay, I'm not making you choose. You've already made the choice.
Right.
And you chose me. So now I know that you're with me regardless of what else comes our way. Right.
Because at the end of the day, I was married to you. So when I left my family's house, or if we were visiting, I left with you.
Yeah.
You were never going to leave that house, my family's house, without me and having my support.
Yeah.
So,
yeah.
Good question.
So, again, appreciate everybody popping on. Make sure you also are subscribing to the YouTube channel. I'll put the link here in the comments here in just a moment. But we are, again, we're doing this both on Facebook, where a lot of you are on, as well as on our YouTube channel. What we have conversations with the Crawleys all the time. Right?
All the time.
All the time. All right. And again, if you're just coming in, hit us up with questions. We will just this is interactive. This is not just us lecturing. We want to have a conversation. So whatever you want to know, what you want to ask us, we're kind of open books right now. Yes, Amara, negative doesn't like men. Yes, you have to make sure that you are protecting your significant other. Period.
Yeah,
I think that's important.
It's definitely important.
Amen. All right. What else? So what's one of your chief pieces of advice to a married couple or a couple contemplating marriage? Let's do that. A couple thinking about marriage.
I was kind of thinking about this is like, people ask questions, what made you stay married? It's not because I loved you. And I'm putting it this way on purpose because at the end of the day, it's a choice.
Right.
So I choose to stay married every time I wake up, when I go to bed.
Yes.
Now, it's a caveat that I love you.
Right.
It's a caveat that I'm attracted to you. It's a caveat that we have things together.
Right.
But at the end of the day, I choose to stay married because I want to be married. And you treat me nice. I mean, you treat me really good. So. But I'm saying that all helps for me to make a commitment. What someone say?
Tori said that initial look when she said that. Exactly. Thank you, brother, for having my back on that. Yes.
Hey, Tori, you know what I'm talking about, Tori. You've been married. So for me, it's like you have to wake up and say, I choose to stay married, And so we made a decision early on in our marriage.
Right.
And I think this is what people need to talk about.
Yes.
We were never going to say the D word in our house.
Exactly.
And that's divorce.
Right.
Now, once you did say it, that means you were serious, you were intentional. And then it's like, okay, then if we get to that spot, we get to that spot. But we made a conscious decision that we weren't going to say that word.
Right.
Because you don't want to play around with it, and you don't want to use it as a weapon against somebody. But for me, that's what I would tell people, because you fall in and out of love. As if you can really say you fall into it.
I think we have to distinguish between falling into love and loving someone.
Right.
Right. But something you said that I made the decision. I think I told you this early on. I was like, if you ever come to me with divorce papers, I'm not arguing about it.
Right.
I'll just sign it.
Right.
Because my mindset is, if you come to me with divorce papers, you've reached the point where you want out. There's no counseling beyond that, what have you, because I know how you operate.
Right.
And so therefore it was like, okay, then we've reached that point where there's nothing further.
Right.
But we made that decision. We're not going to use that divorce word. We're going to do whatever we can to fight for this marriage, fight for this relationship. And that doesn't mean that there's not been challenges. It doesn't mean that there haven't been times where it's like.
And we've gone to counseling again, because if you're trying to do everything we can to keep the commitment, then you put the effort for it. Like, we've read books separately. We've shared books like, this is the book I'm reading. Oh, I don't want to read that book. Because we've all had that funky move. Like, I already done talked to you a million times. So either you're going to do what you're going to do or you're not going to do.
Right.
And so we educate ourselves, because we don't grow up learning how to be married. I don't know. I didn't grow up in a 2-parent home.
Right.
So I didn't know what marriage looked like in my house. I knew what divorced people looked like. I knew what co-parenting looked like because my parents had to do that. And they always did that civil. Right. So if I ever got divorced, I knew how to be civil in divorce. I knew how to co-parent, but no one taught me how to work through conflict or miscommunication, or how to tell someone what I needed. Can that person give me what I need? I'm changing, I'm growing. So those are the things that I'm still learning at 25 years. You know, I'm still, because I told you this morning, I said, look, you watch me grow up. We grew up together.
So yeah, Tori said the way we love each other changes and matures through the life of the marriage, a deeper, mature love that goes beyond that initial love in the beginning. Absolutely. I think that's the thing that if you're a young couple or contemplating marriage or what have you, I think that's something to keep in mind, is that how we love each other changes. Right. Right. There's, and I think that we get to that point where it's like, because that initial passion may have dwindled some. We think that means that I don't love you. And that's not necessarily what that means. It just means that maybe I'm loving you at a deeper level, where it's not just the butterflies and the goosebumps and the feeling of whatever, but it is beyond that, where it's like, you know what, I like having you around more than I don't like having you around.
Or it's reminding yourself of why you first fell in love.
Yes.
I think that's why women like to hear again, like, so what are you thinking about? You know, where you see us going in this way, because it rekindles what attracted us in the first place. And I think that's what we lose sight, is that because after you start doing kids and career and, you know, you're involved in your church and everyone's pulling on you different ways, you lose kind of a little bit of sight of why did I marry this person again? What was it about them? Because right now, the only thing is I see bad breath and uncombed hair, and, you know, so it's remembering. And I like the part about, like, I even thought about myself. I was like, man, I need to dress up more. Like, okay, we need to go out, and I need to take a little bit more effort in when we go out together. Because I think that's another thing. We stop, you know, like when you first date, everything looked fresh. You know, everything red, you know, after 10, 15 years, it's like, all right, we're going to dinner. You know, we got tennis shoes and sweatpants on.
So, yeah. So, I mean, I think that's a key thing also, is just making sure that you have some realism about what the marriage looks like and what the growth looks like, and all of those things, that it is not just the fairy tale. You know, we talked about, you know, it's great as far as having an awesome wedding, but the marriage is the important part. Right. And that marriage is what really takes the work and the effort. Don't spend all that time and effort and energy just for a great one day of a wedding, and then try and live off of that experience. There has to be a foundation that has to be built there. Those things that have to come into play. All right. Again, just we're having conversation. Let us know in the comments any questions you guys got, any comments you guys got. Feel free to pop them in there. Head over to the YouTube channel, the Conversations with the Crawleys YouTube channel, and we definitely have that channel over there. Thank you, Cedric. Thank you for the happy anniversary. Todd says, yes. Lisa and Todd, you are coming up on 25 next February. Awesome, Todd. There are two things that he does as a husband. One, continue to study my wife. Listen.
What's he say?
He said continues to study my wife as she grows, changes, and matures. Listen, studying your spouse.
Are you studying me? You got me down.
Oh, I study.
Oh, you better be taking notes. Listen, no cliff notes.
We're going to keep this PG, but yeah, I study. All right. Chase her around the bed as much as I can, because sex in the marriage should never be an activity.
Exactly.
Listen, that's thank you, Todd. Let's talk about that issue.
So I think, and again, we start really good, strong, and then we taper off in this area. And I think we have to keep rekindling that ourselves, because we get busy and we got life and we get tired. Sometimes we had to schedule it because it was like, we want to.
Listen,
but we're tired.
There are times,
physically.
yes, where it is just like, look,
yes.
we just going, it's just, but there are times, yes, because of kids, because of life, because of we do church together, we do ministry, we do full-time jobs. I was in school for a period of time, all those things. It's like, look, I would love the spontaneity of it.
Right.
But we have to make sure, look, there can't be too long of gaps in between us making time to be intimate with each other.
Right.
So I think that's definitely important. You got to make sure that, hey, that's one of the perks of this thing.
Right. Exactly. And I'm tired of single people saying they having more sex than married people. That has to change. Well, at least it's going to change in my household. I think that it is important to make sure that we are keeping.
And don't be afraid to spice it up. Don't be afraid to try different stuff.
Try different things, and wherever your comfort level is, because there is a lot of things, especially I know for us being believers in Christ, there's places where we can go where we can spice it up and it's still within what we believe and what, what we feel as comfortable for our marriage.
Right.
So you have to see what's comfortable for your marriage and communicate from your spouse what you want.
Right.
In the bedroom. This is what we were referring to.
Oh, yeah.
It's like, if you like it some way, hey, how can we make this happen? How can we all be on a comfortable level? Listen. Do we need a code word? Whatever we need.
Pineapples.
Right. Pineapples. Whatever we need. Because I do love you and I want to share that with you.
That's right, Tori. Ain't nothing wrong with some seasonings. we ain't talking about just regular Morton sea salt. We're talking that Lowry special seasoning. That Old Bay special seasoning.
Okay.
Yeah, listen.
Whatever that is, if it's oils,
candles,
or
oils,
different things. Do the things that make you happy.
Blindfolds,
as a couple.
Whatever it might be. Listen,
right.
Y'all know it.
We know it's right.
Y'all got it. All right.
But I think that's really great, because to be married for 25 years, there has to be in the marriage.
Yes.
And if it's gone, someone has to communicate. It's been 5 days. It's been 2 days. Hello. Yeah. Oh yeah. Get that person back grounded, and make those times,
Yeah.
It's important.
Yeah. I mean, listen, again, it would be wonderful if it was like when we first got married, where it was just like, look, whenever the moment hit, it was like there. Right. But as you get older, let's just be honest, life happens. You got a lot going on. So yeah, you do have sometimes to just say, hey, listen, let's go ahead and maybe not tonight, but tomorrow morning, listen.
Right. And study your partner's body, what makes her rouse. All the other things that we would have done when we weren't married that we should do in our marriage. So.
All right, good. All right, let me go back, because Tori had a question. Can we speak to the art of truly listening to your spouse and not listening to just respond? Yes. So one of the things we learned early on was this phrase, what I hear you saying. Because if we're honest, a lot of times, and for me, I'm a thinker. I am a contemplator. I am, when you're talking to me, here's a secret about Kevin. When you're talking to me, I'm asking myself, do I really care what you're saying? I'm just being honest. I'm asking myself, do I care what you're saying? Does it matter to me? And if it does matter to me, then yes, I'm engaged. But if it doesn't matter to me, I may check out. Now, I've gotten a lot better at basically listening to listen. But one of the things that we learned early on was, when she's talking, rather than listening to respond and figure out what I'm going to say to rebut what she's saying, let me hear what she's saying. And then I can say, okay, what I hear you saying, and I repeat back to her in my own words, in my own phrase, what I'm hearing her say, because then I'm taking that and I'm internalizing it, processing it. And now I'm confirming that this is what you're saying. Because then what happens is that we've had the opportunity, she'll be like, no, I'm not saying that. And she'll rephrase it so that we make sure we're communicating. Because the other thing about communication is that you have to understand, you have a mindset, you have a way that your family communicates. She has a way that her family communicates, and they are not the same. Right. At all.
No, not at all. And I think, and this could take some time.
Yes.
That's the other thing.
It's not easy. Marriage takes work.
So the communication of whatever the miscommunication was, sometimes it could take us an hour and a half. And then sometimes we take a break. Okay, well, let me think about what you're saying or telling me. can we come back and visit this?
Yes.
And within a 24-hour period, not like
not
3 months
weeks
from now.
Right.
But it's like, okay, I think I understand what you're saying.
Yeah.
And then sometimes we have to come back. And then I got to admit that sometimes even in those conversations, we don't like what's said. And it just be quiet. You know how that awkward silence, you know, the face we give, and now all of a sudden we're not really connecting. And then we have to go back like, okay, are you ready? Let's kind of get through. Well, what are you feeling?
Right.
You know, and it's not about this is what you did to me.
Right.
That's another part of when you're communicating about what's going on. You don't say you. I feel like you're not listening to me.
Yes.
I feel like I'm not being respected.
Right.
It's not you did this and you're making this happen and and when you're attacking someone, it's hard for them to hear you.
Yes.
If you're using terms like you.
If you're accusing and being if you're throwing out accusations,
correct.
The automatic response is I'm going to feel defensive.
Right.
So rather than causing the other person to feel defensive, and now that just puts everybody on edge.
Right.
This is how I'm feeling. Now, your part in that's for you to figure out.
Right.
But I can only be honest about how I feel.
Right.
Because understand also that many times things are said, things are done that may have a negative impact or negative connotation for us, but it's not we have to trust that it's not the intent of the person that we're connected with. There are times where we've disagreed, and I've been like, this is how I feel. And it's not like that's what she was intending to do, or she was purposely going out of her way to make me feel that way. But what you had to recognize with that, what this action was, caused me to feel that way. So now you have the opportunity to work on that action or that behavior.
Well, I think our conversation changed to saying like, hey, I need to inform you of something, and I'm not here to attack you.
Right.
I'm not here. What I'm about to say, I don't feel like I'm going to say it correctly. Right. It's like you're letting the person know, like, I'm trying to share something with you, but I don't know how to really communicate it.
You got to give space also for that.
Right. So I'm going to pull it out the best way I know how, but I'm not trying to make you feel bad.
Right.
I'm just trying to get out how I'm feeling. So when you're upfront that, hey, she's about to say something, she's not trying to come off negative, but she needs to get this out to you. You can take it in and better, like, okay, yeah, go ahead. Say what you're going to say. Let's go ahead and talk about it. You know, because before we're just more like, like a machine gun. All right, I'm done. It's out. I feel better. And you walk off and this other person has holes all in them of like, is this about me? I never knew that. Or where is this coming from?
Right.
And you feel better because you don't finally release everything you've been holding over the last 6-9 months, whatever. And now they don't take out everything that you done spewed out and you just walked off.
Yeah.
You know,
Amara, we're going to come back to your question. I didn't forget about you, but yeah, Sharon, there have been times where we've had to agree to disagree.
Yeah.
There have been times where it's like, you know what, we're just not going to see eye to eye on this. And there have been times where I've been like, look, I'm not going to deal with it anymore. And sure enough, this is why I love the God that I serve. Because sure enough, there have been times where I've been like, look, I'm done. I'm not going to argue about it. What have you? We don't see eye to eye on this. And then a week, 2 weeks later, okay, God said, and it's exactly what I've been trying to communicate. So understanding that you may not always have the perfect resolution to the situation or the discussion. You may not always have that, but and recognizing that you are two different people with two different viewpoints, two different histories that see things through those lenses, and not always are you going to see them the same way.
And you have to trust your spouse. So, okay, I don't see it your way, but let's try it your way.
Right.
I'm willing to let go of control. That's another thing.
Yeah.
It's about letting go of control.
Yep.
So for me, I had to say, okay, I don't agree with this. I don't think it's the right way to do, but I'm going to let you lead and I'm going to let you have control. If it doesn't work out, okay.
Then we learn from that, right? We move forward.
I was right. Now you get to say I was right. But at the end of the day, I decided to let it go and totally let it go.
Yeah.
No snark remarks.
Yes.
No,
yes.
like, ooh, is this really going to work?
Listen.
I mean, letting it go means I'm letting you have this. We don't agree, but we have to make a decision. That's another thing. It's another thing to say, okay, we're going to disagree about what's going on. But when it's something that we have to agree on to move forward, and it's going to be his idea or my idea, if I didn't agree with his idea, but he really feels strongly, okay, I'm going to move with you and I'm going to support it.
Yes.
I'm going to be fully behind it. Whatever you need from me, I'm going to do it. Now, if it doesn't work out, I'm going to support him like, babe, it's okay. We talked about it. Okay, can we go back and visit it? Do you see it from my perspective? It's not to get down. See, I told you this one. I knew this wasn't going to happen. Blah, blah, blah. Now we got to fix it. No, it's like, okay, we tried. Right. And we move on.
Exactly. All right. So Amara asked, I'm putting it up there. Do you think you should go into marriage focusing on making each other happy, or should the focus be on making yourself happy and keeping your own vibe up and let that energy trickle down to your man? So I think that there's I would say a balance in this, in that you don't want to be so focused on making the other person happy that you lose yourself. But by the same token, you also want to protect yourself, your state of mind, what have you. So I think, and that's why, we operate from the standpoint that you need to be healed. You need two whole people to make a whole marriage. Right.
And I think for us, we came into that with that good vibe. Like, we already had our own thing going on. So when you enter in that marriage, as long as you're keeping yourself up and you're keeping yourself, happy and whatever you find that in, when you come together, that should be easy for you to do. Like, I love doing things for him, but my life is not around doing things for him. Like, you'll bring little things to me, or like, oh, I've been in the store. I know you like Twizzlers, and so he'll give me a package of Twizzlers. Like, I was thinking about you. Yeah, but he doesn't every day, like, what can I do for you? How can I make you be happy? I think as you keeping yourself happy, you want to see other people happy.
And I think also there is, and this kind of brings up, I think, something that is vital to think about as well, is that even though you are one as a couple, you also have your own individuality. There are some things that, I like doing that she doesn't like doing. And it's okay that we don't do them together. I think one of the things, so, my boy Tari's on here. We are both Xbox, PlayStation guys, right? Now, there was a point early in our marriage where she would try and hop on and play a game with me once or twice, right? Like, and she was like, I can't do this. And it was like, I appreciated the effort. But it's not like, oh, we must not be meant to be together because you're not going to video game with me. I still do that. And she's like, she'll know, leave me in my zone with that, what have you. And then we move on and we do a lot of things together. So don't lose yourself in the relationship. And I think that's the key to, yes, still maintaining your vibe, as you're saying, Amara, maintaining who you are, so that then that keeps the relationship fresh and keeps it moving forward, because it's not like I've got to do everything that this other person wants me to do to make them happy. I'm doing the things that I also want to do that make me happy and give me mental peace and what have you, right?
Yeah, because if I say one other thing about this, is like, we have different activities. I'm in the gym. I like to run. There's like different things. And I would love for him to do that with me all the time, because we get to spend time together. Now, have you made efforts and gone out with me and gone to,
we'll go for walks,
you even tried,
Zumba one time.
Oh, and also we did CrossFit. You've tried different things with me, which I appreciate the effort, but I had to realize that wasn't his thing. And I call it fostering. Then you find a group of people that you could foster that energy and you can do it together. So I stayed energetic. I was happy when I came back. And then he finds ways to connect. Well, how was it? How did you go? How far did you go? There's way to stay connected without being supportive.
I don't necessarily like to run. I'm not a runner. I prefer to just be weightlifting, what I prefer to do in the gym, right? And so, but when you ran your half marathon and when you did those running, you know, it was like, okay, I'm gonna support you. Let's go, you know, support you, cheer you on, what have you.
Finish line.
I know there's a couple of times where you're like, you come and be like, I need water right here.
Right.
Especially being here in Phoenix, right?
So he would come.
So I would get in the car.
He'd be my water boy.
I would stop whatever I need to do, run and go get her some water, right? Because I want to support her in the thing. So even I think you were looking for some races, and I was like, oh, here's a race you might do. So those things that you know what your spouse, what your significant other, what they are into, and finding ways to support and encourage them in that thing.
Yep.
All right. Yeah, Todd said we had to create a space for each of us to have alone time and actively date each other in our marriage. Yes, absolutely. You know, there are times where I just want to veg out.
Right.
I don't, it doesn't have to be anything special, magical. I just need some times where I need to, quote unquote, go into a cave where I'm just alone with my thoughts.
And I think recently we even picked up our dating nights. Like we would go out, we would double date with another couple.
Yep.
And if they cancel, we still have our own date.
Yep.
So even though it was like, well, it went from 4 to 2, but we still make time to say, hey, how's your day going? What are you thinking about? Where you know, what's going on with you? Take that time, and not to talk about anything else or anyone else.
Right.
That's our time to talk specifically about each other.
Yes.
And not anything else, especially when you have kids and other responsibilities.
Right.
You tend to divert to those activities and not really talk about each other.
Because you're so much in the vein of this is what we do here. You know, for example, we pastor a church, right?
Yeah.
So a lot of the conversations that we have is how can we do this better? How can we improve this? What's going on with our people, what have you? But we had to make sure that we have time still for just us to talk about us and find out what's going on with us. Because can I be honest? There's going to come a point where they won't be there and it's still just going to be us. And I got to know who I'm living with. Listen, we are moments away.
Yeah, about a month
and a half away from being empty nesters.
So yeah.
Love kids. But I'm looking forward to our time of just being
the
us,
two of us again.
You know? So. All right. Anything else? Yeah. All right, Todd. Thank you for popping in. You got to bounce.
Todd.
Thank you, Todd. All right. So I think that's a key thing is making sure that you take time to really reconnect. I think that if you lose sight of who the person is that you're dating, or you're married to, because you know, you grow. I think, as you mentioned earlier, you know, we've watched each other, quote unquote, grow up. So the way I viewed some things, the way I may have been 25 years ago, there's been a whole lot that has occurred since then. So now maybe my viewpoints have shifted. And if we don't continue to check in and if I hold you to who you were 25 years ago, then there's a whole lot that's missing and happening, right?
Exactly.
All right. What else?
So tell me what you learned in 25 years about being married.
I learned.
Spill it.
I think the thing that I learned is honesty and transparency. I think that's one of the key things that I think that for any couple, you've got to make sure that you keep mindful and trust the other person with even some things that may not be favorable, that they may not like or enjoy or want to hear. Trust that they can at least give them the opportunity to try and handle that. So I think that's a key thing is honesty and transparency is a key thing for any relationship to make sure that you are operating with that.
Yep.
All right.
Good for you. Look at you learning.
Look at me learning. Learned some stuff.
Oh boy.
Yeah. All right. So what would you say is, what is your favorite memory of our relationship?
Oh, a favorite memory. I think when I got a couple, I think it's more so when we spend time together, we laugh a lot.
Yeah.
And I didn't realize it until your mother-in-law brings it up because she had stayed overnight.
My mother?
Oh.
Your mother-in-law.
My mother-in-law.
You said your mother-in-law.
Oh, I'm sorry. My mother-in-law, your mother. When she had stayed the night and she had mentioned this and I didn't even realize it. She was like, I was just telling someone that you guys are friends. Like, you guys are laughing and joking around. And I think no matter where we find ourselves, we've been able to sometimes joke more than other times. I know that there's been times in our lives and periods where we were crying more than we were joking and laughing around.
Right.
But I think those are the best memories. I mean, we've been to Mexico 2 times. Those have been great times. When we've been to Vegas, that was a great time. I think anytime when we decided to let go of what life was bringing us and just relax in the moment of being together.
Yeah.
When we went to Chicago one time, for your
my reunion.
That was a great time because I felt like it was just like, I'm not worried about anything else.
Right.
We're just hanging out, we're having fun, we're enjoying each other's company. I think those been the best times. And then it's just those little moments when I can see you, like when giving birth to our kids. And the first time you did this, I was like, what are you doing? Like, you took our daughter and you were like speaking into her ear, you put it up real close. And I'm asking, I was like, what was that about? Because it wasn't like you were telling me like, okay, when you give birth and they bring the child to me, I'm going to speak into her ear. And I was like, it was just like they hand you the baby and I'm looking over to you. I'm like, what are you doing? And you're like, I want her to be the first voice I hear. I want, I'm speaking into her life. And I found those times precious when they were unexpected. Like, oh, I did pick a good man who's going to be a good father. And just from the day they came out of the womb, you gave those ideas of what you wanted to be in your children. I think those moments of surprise when I thought I knew you and then you show something else about yourself.
Sharon had a question. She said, Tarsha, as a first lady, is that hard on your marriage?
No. Because I feel that even being in any type of position at the church, my marriage is between me and Kevin.
Right.
Now, Pastor Kevin, while we're at church, he has a function in the role. But even though, they know we're married at church, but at the end of the day, I know how to separate the two in a sense that what I'm doing, I hope I'm answering your question, but it's just more so like, I know what my role is. I know I support my husband while we're at church, but at the same time, he's my husband.
And I think the other thing also is that my role is to protect as well. So I think part of what I've seen, and we've seen some great relationships in ministry, and we've seen some relationships in ministry that needed some help, right? And I think one of the things that I've seen where it was needed help was that honoring your wife, right? And so I think the fact that when people know us and they approach us, what have you, my wife is more important to me than that. I think that we get it sometimes twisted and confused. That the first responsibility is to the family.
Correct.
Right. Even in the New Testament, when the qualifications of a bishop, it is first, can you take care of your household?
Right.
And so I'm not more focused on the church than I am on my relationship.
Right.
For example, like this weekend, we're still recovering and growing back from the
COVID.
pandemic and COVID. And so we don't have anyone necessarily to operate the church, but we're going to go celebrate our anniversary.
Right.
We're going to go celebrate our kids graduating. And so therefore church this weekend, we're not having it.
Right.
Because at the end of the day, my family matters to me. Now I still have a functioning role. We're still going to church. We're still doing all those things. But if I mess this up, then that doesn't mean anything. That doesn't hold any value. So and then Sharon also said she's a new mother-in-law. Any advice?
Oh.
So Sharon, you might ask, because I think there's a couple of perspectives there. But Sharon, just drop in. Is the mother-in-law? Is it your daughter or your son that is getting married?
Oh yeah, that makes a difference.
Because there's a difference there, I think. Yeah. But I'll say just in general, I think. As a parent, as an in-law, mother-in-law, father-in-law, I think there is the importance of making sure that you love your child.
Right.
However,
Right.
Recognize that your child is now in their own relationship.
Exactly.
And listen, there are going to be times where they may come to you and say, he did this, she did that, da da da. Take it with a grain of salt. Don't hold it against your in-law, and move on, because they may have a momentary issue with their spouse.
Correct.
That you hear this part and all you're hearing is this negative, and then they've gone and reconciled and you're still feeling some type of way because of how they did your child.
Yeah. And I think being even careful about that, like, hey, I don't want you to tell whoever, if this your son or your daughter, hey babe, I don't want you to overshare with me what's going on.
Right.
You know, if you want some advice, we can talk in some general terms, you know, but you don't have to give me the whole situation, because at the end of the day, we're protective.
Yeah.
I don't care. I tell my kids all the time, I don't care how old you get. You will always be my child. And I don't want to be overprotective, because if they're talking about this was happening on my job, I want to go up and talk to the manager. I can't do that.
Right.
I have to tell my kids, you're going to have to advocate for yourself.
And we still give them advice.
Give them advice, but I can't come up to the job and say, you know what, you ain't going to talk to my child this way.
Right.
Because they're adults. And so I think that's why it's important for you to have a balance, have a loving relationship, and get to know whoever that person is in your son or daughter's life.
Yeah. So Sharon said that it is her son that recently got married. So
first, congratulations.
Yes.
And you know how I would look at her as a daughter and figure out how you can get to know her and learn her, you know, because you know some things about your son, but it could be totally different now that he's married and how he's expressing himself to his wife. And so you're going to see a new side of your son that you haven't seen before. You know, I think it's just continue to be a loving, caring mom, and allow it to come as it does. You know, when you're there, be present with both of them, you know. And I spend a lot of time with my mother-in-law. Like we would go out to eat together, or we would go shopping together. And we just have conversations where she learned me and I learned her, you know, and she never pried, you know, she was never digging for anything. And I appreciate that. She was just like, look, I gave him, you know, y'all at the altar. Once y'all decided to get married, she was like, I am hands off. You're my daughter. I love you. And she's like, I want the best for you. And I think if you keep that in mind, you know, I think you'll do a great job.
That's the thing that I appreciate about the relationship my wife has with my mother, is that my mom looks at her as her daughter. I think that to me makes me feel like, okay, I made the right decision, because no son wants his wife and his mother to have beef or have issues. Let's just be honest. That's not the case.
That's true.
And so the fact that I don't have to mediate between my mother and my wife, and my mother she's been supportive, but not overbearing. So I appreciate that. And so that would be my advice as a mother-in-law.
And get her phone number. If you need to talk to her, call her directly. You know, the son shouldn't be the funnel. Like, I need you to tell so. You know, build your own relationship with her. And then when your son comes and he wants to say like, oh, well, I know so. And what did you do? And what did you say? And that would kind of diffuse that you're not going to just be on his side. That you've created that friendship, you know, between her.
And I you know, for me, I don't think I've ever gone to my mom and be like, look, Tarsha, da. Because I also, on the flip side of that, as a son, I want to protect my wife from that perspective with my mother, where my mother's now has the opportunity to look at her that way. So I think that those are all key important things. All right. What else? We got a few more minutes and then we'll.
I guess. What was your most disappointing thing about marriage?
I don't know. I mean, I can't think of anything off the top that is like this was disappointing. I think for us, I think we had enough good conversations before we got married that I don't think that there's anything that was like, oh, why this is a shocker. This is a. I think that there have been, as we talked about, the ebbs and the flows, the highs and the lows. But I can't think of anything that was like that's a disappointment or that's what was a negative thing. I think we've worked through a lot of things and just made sure that we, even when things weren't great, we still found ways to see, okay, how can we get better?
Correct.
I think that's the key thing.
Yeah.
As long as you are continually working to get better and grow.
Yes.
That's the important thing. When either person gives up, that's when things are in trouble,
That's
right?
True.
So I think we've made a decision, and as we mentioned kind of early on in this, that we were not going to just throw in the towel easily.
Right. We were going to fight. Yeah. So yeah.
Okay.
All
right. Anything else before we head out, folks? We appreciate every one of you stopping by.
Again, happy anniversary.
Yes.
We appreciate it.
For all of our Facebook viewers, definitely make sure hop over to YouTube. You can also check us out there. We have a growing YouTube channel that we are doing where we have some of these conversations and other conversations about different stuff. So
yes, and we're starting to do some merch.
Yes.
So
if you are
he's
a baller, if you love basketball, you will recognize that LeBron is not the GOAT.
Yeah.
All right. So this shirt's available, the Built to Pray shirt. That will also be available.
Grace over everything.
Grace over everything. Yep. You can go to the Etsy store and look for, actually, I'll drop it in the link there, but drop it in the comments there. But you can also go and just search for the shop Power and Authority. That is one of the stores that I have. And then I'm working on my website where you'll be able to have that as well. Also, go check out my book that I wrote last year called Stunted Growth. That is now available on Amazon.
Yes.
And
great book. And I'm not just saying that. I read it. So it was.
I mean, it covers some things as far as what I call stunted growth, which is where maybe you didn't mature in an area, and it really had to do with the fact that something happened. Maybe it was trauma. Maybe it was the fact of how you were raised. As we talked about earlier, sometimes you don't recognize the dysfunction that you've experienced until you have an opportunity to step outside of that. So check out the book. It's a really quick read. You can get the Kindle version as well as you can get the physical book, Stunted Growth, and of course by me, Kevin Crawley. And I think that's it.
That's it. We appreciate you guys. Have a great week.
Love you guys. Have a great one. We'll see you next time. Be blessed.
Be blessed.